Welcome to the Point Out Loud Women Trailblazers podcast series 6 of Through Her Lens at UWSP, brought to you by the UWSP Center of Women's Leadership. Here at UW-Stevens Point, we believe that meaningful change begins with students and leaders who are committed to shaping a more inclusive, innovative, and empowered campus.
This series highlights the voices of passionate arts leaders, students, advocates, leaders who are making an impact. From student organizations to workplace initiatives, these trailblazers are redefining how artists can lead.
As Frida Kahlo once said, at the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can. Today, we honor the students showing resilience and courage in every step they take.
We're so excited to have you join us as we talk about seeing through her lens. Let's get started.
Today, we're excited to welcome Florence Anderson, a Wisconsin-born filmmaker and MFA candidate in TV writing and producing at Chapman University. Florence discovered their love for storytelling at UW-Stevens Point, where they led Pointer Studios as general manager, bringing back short films and creating new unscripted entertainment. Since then, they worked on a wide range of projects, from commercials and award-winning shorts to Emmy-winning web series. Florence is now developing their thesis pilot, Cat-Gone Cowboy, as they prepare to graduate in 2026.
Florence made us laugh as we talked about being corny. She inspired us as she talked about being part of a Pointer trio. I'll let you figure that out when we get to it. She said it's gonna be okay. She modeled this wild kind of flexibility plus effort that somehow had her appearing to be extremely purposeful. In Florence's words, it's going to be okay.
Well, welcome, Florence. We'd love to start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your backstory.
For sure. Well, I'm Florence Anderson. I grew up in Shell Lake, Wisconsin, where I was born. I followed my older sister's footsteps, and I went to UWSP when it came time for me to choose a college. She went for sociology. I went for theater, but I switched to the Department of Media Studies. And my younger sister actually followed both of us, and she went to the Department of Education. So all three of us went to Stevens Point. So Stevens Point is very close to all of us. While I was at Stevens Point, I was very involved on campus. I was in Student Government Association. I was in University Writers. I was a general manager for SPTV. That's what it was called when I joined. I changed the name to Pointer Studios, which encompassed a little bit more. In my time there, I wrote for The Pointer. I DJ'd at 90 FM. I was very, very involved. After I graduated in 2023, I took a gap year from going to grad school, and I taught at a middle school in Commerce City, Colorado through ArtistYear. That's a program through the AmeriCorps. It was a life-changing experience. I loved it. And currently I go to Chapman University. I'm getting my master's in TV writing and producing. And I'm going to be graduating from that this May.
Whoa.
Wow. Wow. Good for you for doing so many different things.
Yeah.
I've been around.
Yeah, that's right. Me too. I just want to tell you, I am a Commerce City girl. Commerce City, Colorado.
Oh my God.
Have lived there.
Yes.
We got around a lot too in my family. So I went to 14 schools before I graduated high school. But a really formative place for me was Commerce City, Colorado.
Wow.
It's a nice little town. Everyone there was so nice.
Yeah.
The oil refinery, not so much, but everything else was great.
It's a working class community, but you're not that far from Denver, right?
No, not at all. I lived down in Aurora and would commute every day. I didn't have a car. I biked every day. It was crazy, but it was really fun. I loved it. Denver and that whole area has my heart, specifically Commerce City, though.
Yeah. Mine too, actually. I had a drama teacher there. So all the troubled kids got put with her. So if kids were just maybe restless or awkward or, just a little bit off or maybe a lot off, they'd throw us in with Mrs. Brown, and she had these cat classes, and she knew everybody in Denver theater, and she would take us to Denver theater all the time. And she taught us improv. And so I was on stage and in theater with her, and she would just give us a scenario and make us get on stage and do it totally cold. She was really important to me. So I haven't thought about her in a million years, Florence. Thank you for making me think of her. It's awesome.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you've got so many accomplishments, so much you've done. Kelsey did some great research. And so the question she really wanted to start with today is what first drew you into storytelling and film and all the ways that you show up as a writer and a producer and, all those places?
I grew up in very rural Wisconsin. Like I said, Shell Lake is a very small town, and my family and I are very different in the way that they are all big outdoors people. They're all hunters. They like to go fishing. All of my cousins and sisters, they're all like 3-sport athletes. But I was never like that. I was the kid who sat on the grass picking the dandelions during soccer games. So as a result of that, I kind of got left home alone a lot. And when you're a kid in the early 2000s, what are you going to do but watch television? I watched a lot of TV. And it's something that I really came to like fall in love with. And my first friend I made ever was because we like to role play Teen Titans on the playground. It was like a formative experience for me. Role playing, I think is where my storytelling really kind of started to become more than like just something I thought about, but something I was actively like trying to do and pursue. Naturally, the next step to that, being 12 in 2013, was to write fan fiction. Naturally, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's what you did.
That's what you do. I wrote a lot of fan fiction, and that's honestly a huge part of why I specifically started writing for television and for film, because I didn't like reading books was fine, but I have a thing about texture, and paper pisses me off a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, that might be a word you can't say, but
it's okay. Drop them.
I don't. Like I said, I worked for 90 FM. I know the words you're not supposed to say on air. But so I would write fan fiction for the TV shows I really liked. And as I kind of got older, like there aren't really like filmmaking experiences in where I grew up, but community theater was there. And so I started acting, that led to kind of playwriting. And then when I got to UWSP, I was in the theater program. I was a drama major. And it just like nothing really felt right. It wasn't quite working. It was off. It was weird. And I saw that there was auditions for the news anchors at SPTV. And I went over there and I really liked it. I made news packages for them for the longest time. And that brought back in video into my life. I had made videos as a kid too, but that kind of had also fallen to the wayside as something that like only I was interested in my little small town. But getting back into video got me back into realizing that I liked storytelling as a medium, storytelling in general. And I joined University Writers shortly after that. I refounded Film Society so that I didn't have to write news packages. I could write fictional stories again. And as I came close to graduation, I realized that what I liked to write the most was pilots. I love pilots. And so I wrote like 2 or 3 pilots before I graduated. Decided to pursue TV writing and producing at Chapman. I got in while I was still at UWSP, but I deferred to go serve in Colorado. And since then, I've just been really happy with what I've gotten to produce and to write. And storytelling has just become so important to me. It's not just about like telling a series of events, but it's about telling very specific stories and the meaning that those have, and what it says about the world outside of yourself. And so that's just what I've come to really enjoy about what I do.
Yeah, I want to dive into that intersection of things. I took lots of notes while you were talking, but I have to tell you that Kelsey lit up when you mentioned Teen Titans. What's that about, Kelsey?
Well, I have a younger brother, and we would always fight about the remote. So, of course, what was on when he got the remote? Teen Titans. So, I mean, don't ask me who the characters are now. I don't remember any of them, but it was just silly because I also did that as a kid, not to Teen Titans, but a lot of the different cartoon shows that I would watch. I would go out to the playground with everybody and pretend I was somebody from the Backyardigans.
Such a fun part of being a kid is finding media that sticks to you in a very specific way. And Teen Titans And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was the other big one for me.
Yeah. All right. Mac is now nodding her head as well.
Yeah, Mac knows it's lovely.
Well, I love this intersection. You talked about so many cool things. You talked about role playing, storytelling, writing, and video, right? So you've got these four kind of inputs that are these four kind of interests or passions that then start to take shape. And you lead in so many different ways, right? You renamed Pointer Studios, you restarted the Film Society, you kept experimenting through things on campus until you figured out pilots. But even when you'd been accepted into school, you said, no, I've got to go do something else. So you are, for me, in the Florence in me, as I'm taking you in and listening to you and constructing you in my mind, you are an intersection of so many different things. You've done a lot. No. Yeah. And I love the way you've woven together how you express yourself and how you work, right? You are, it's kind of like so many of us construct ourselves accidentally, and you seem to be doing a little bit more on purpose. One thing that I think Kelsey and I are really interested in is how did that play out for you at Pointer Studio? So can you tell us a little bit about that role and how how did you fit into the leadership you provided there? How did you come to be that person?
It's really funny that you call me purposeful because I became general manager by accident. So I started at UWSP in the fall of 2019, which means spring was that COVID spring, the one where a 1 week spring break turned into a 10-week spring break.
Yeah.
But a lot of organizations were very uncertain about how things would look. And Pointer Studio, or SPTV, was one of them. At the time, I had been hired as a news producer, which was a starting position at the organization. Already, I got hired in my second semester there. But the natural pipeline is not general member, producer, general manager. It takes you a year or two to get to general manager after you get started. And but with COVID happening, the staff had a high turnover rate. The only people who were returning to the organization in the fall of 2020 were me and I think two other people, and those two people just did not want to be general manager ever. It was not something that they were super interested in. And so between the three of us, we discussed, and I was like, okay, I have to be general manager. It has to happen for this organization to continue working. This is a job that I'm going to take on, and it's going to be stressful at first because I don't know what I'm doing, and it's COVID, and no one knows what they're doing, but it's going to be okay. And SPTV really led me to become a leader in a lot of ways because in a lot of ways, I felt like every card was stacked against me because I came in during COVID. Fun fact, the faculty advisor of the organization at the time, we had never met in person because of Zoom. And then by the time in-person classes were happening again, he actually quit and moved to a different school. And the only time I've seen this man, not through a Zoom camera, is in Las Vegas, Nevada, when we were both at the same conference. So crazy.
Yeah.
He was not super involved in the organization. So through COVID, and through all of it, there was no sense of normalcy, which meant that like a lot of things just happened in that time. And I think that it was actually the perfect time for me to come to the organization and make the changes I did, because there was no hard locked cement way things had to run for things to change and happen. So I introduced the entertainment block. I changed our news format a little bit. That one I kind of wish we'd say true to what a true news show does. But again, when you're working with students, you adjust and you make do with what you got. And then once I kind of figured out how to run the TV aspect, that's when I take a step back and I was like, well, news TV is not what everyone seems to be super interested in. And I'm not particularly interested in going into a news career after this. What if we expanded? And I approached the media studies faculty. There had been other organizations previously that did not survive COVID that, kind of just fell to the wayside. YouTube Society was one of them, and Film Society had actually stopped functioning, I think, before I even got to UWSP. But I was like, well, they used to exist, so they should exist again. And so I, with the faculty and with a new advisor who currently does still work there, Kevin Obsatz, We worked to kind of grow the organization quite a bit. I got SGA to give us a lot more money. Yeah, so that's just how that journey went in terms of getting everything solidified there. But I think what I really liked most about that experience is that, like I said, because so much was changing within the organization and the world, I got to kind of grow with the organization and grow in a way that like made me really happy and made the organization more functional. And it's just an experience that I really, really enjoyed. Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it. I can, folks out there, I know you're just hearing Florence's voice, but we're seeing Florence's face, and they have really lit up as they've been talking about this journey. And, you had me thinking while you were talking, Florence, about the difference between purposeful and flexible, and how interesting it was for me that because you're so flexible and you're willing to bring so much effort to things, that I interpreted that as having a purpose. Like that you had planned it all out. But in fact, it sounds like you kind of wrote it all out.
I just felt, yeah. I can't surf, but metaphorically, I think I did.
Yeah.
Wow. That's all. I love that. I love how you said that. That's awesome. So you talked a lot about like your journey and stuff through Pointer Studios. What's something that you're really proud of?
I think I am really proud of everything I did my senior year while I was there. I was applying for an internship recently, and I was going through my Stevens Point transcript and remembering like all the roles I had in different organizations and looking at my class schedule. I'm like, damn, I did a lot. And I might not have done everything the best. Like Mac acted in a short film that I directed my second to last semester at Stevens Point, and it's really bad. It's a horror, and I'm not a horror person. It's just something that like I thought would be fun, and it's the first film that Pointer Studios produced. It's something that like I'll look back at and laugh now because like I said, it's really bad, but I'm proud that I made it. I'm proud of the film that I directed after that called Rodeo. I did that as my symposium with the Media Studies department and Pointer Studios was a big part in helping produce it. They funded it. And like the projects are definitely student projects and ones that were made by people who've never made movies before, but they're still ones that I really love. And getting to have not just a degree that says I did it and I did it good enough, but have like two products I can look back on and still just like have as my own little memories is really something I'm proud of.
Yeah, I love that. You should see Kelsey like signaled on her face. She does this little thing with her lips. She puts it out like, aw, that was really inspiring and motivating. And, Florence, I don't do this enough. And I think this is a call to action for our whole audience. You said it was really bad, and I'm so proud of it.
Yeah. I think we should be proud of the things that are bad still. I made a bunch of movies with middle schoolers last year. Were any of them good? No, because they were made by middle schoolers. But that doesn't mean that you didn't make like a product that's really fun and enjoyable.
So what are you? So Kelsey pointed at the screen. She pointed at Florence when Kelsey said, "Right, we should be proud of our bad stuff."
We really should be. Like, I mean, I haven't done anything that you have produced or anything like that, but I've definitely failed classes, but I see it in the same way as like, it's terrible to say, like, I'm proud that I failed that class, but I learned from it, so I retook it and I did way better than ever. It might not be at the same level as what you're doing, but of course I'm still proud of what I did to make it better.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So Kelsey had these two questions for us, and we have one question that we always ask, but she also paired it with another question. So I want to tee this up for you. They're really questions that come out of our identity, right? And so this is the Women Trailblazers Conference. So I want to word this question in a way that maybe it's more accessible to a broader audience. And so I'm gonna try it this way. It's about the balance between discouragement and hope. So as someone in film, I'm going to do discouragement first and then hope. As someone in film, have you ever felt underestimated because of your identity? And then I also want to say, when you think about people who have identities that aren't the majority, right? And the role we're playing in society right now, what gives you the most hope? So we'd love to hear you talk about discouragement and hope as it relates to the places that you are rare.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I've been on a lot of sets at this point. I assistant direct most professionally. And it's a mixed bag because a lot of the a lot of the old ways in Hollywood are very cemented in men run the show. And even if you look at crew numbers from this past year, the amount of female crew on set has gone down in every department except for hair and makeup and costuming. And I'm not a hair and makeup or costume person, so that can be little discouraging at times. And most of the directors and DPs I've worked with are men. And there are times where I'm working with even people who are the same age as me, and they don't take me super seriously. Because as an assistant director on set, your job is to be the hard ass. Your job is to keep people on time, to get the show moving, and to kind of be the bad guy in terms of like, hey, stop chit-chatting, we have work to do. And that's fine. This is a role I really like filling, but you have people who give you attitude about it, and you have people who give you sass about it, and you have I've had more men just not take me seriously in that front than in any other role I filled on set. And even if they are polite, the expectations had of you on set are very different than the expectations men have for other men on set. Like the very first project I worked on, I was the only female crew member. I was a camera assistant. We were getting towards the end of the day, and we needed to do this one last scene, and they didn't hire an actress for this. They just expected me to do it. They needed a woman's hand to reach on screen full of like jewels. She was like selling fake jewelry, so she needed to wear a ton of jewels. I don't know. But my hand is covered in rings that are not my size. And I need to put my hand in frame, and he's gonna like pretend to kiss it. And I'm like, I'm not an actor. I didn't want to do that. And just the expectation that was had of me on the very first set that I was on was very frustrating. And I felt like I had to do it, so I did. And it's out there. You can find that movie, but it's not super fun that like that's an expectation had of me. But I've also really worked with a lot of really great people who have made it clear that was very much just like a that project thing. I've worked with people who have much more experience than me who have sat down with me and said, "You're one of the best people I've worked with." And I've had really great experiences. Like when I lived in Denver, I worked on 2 projects. Slasher Sessions was the first big project I've worked on. I assistant directed that. That director and DP are 2 people who like are both old enough to be my dad, but both treated me with so much respect when I was on set, and treated me with so much kindness that and they were both men, and I was like, this makes me feel really happy again. And that cinematographer recommended me to work on another project with him, and we did a pilot together called Paranormal, which should be coming out later this year. I'm very excited for it.
Excellent.
And that was another male director. And so the industry is changing for the better, and we do have a lot of people who are being very respectful on set, and it's becoming more the norm to be treated as an equal than to not, but it's still going to happen, and that really sucks. But one thing that has been really inspiring for me is how many women in the industry there are, and how much we all want to pull each other up with one another. I worked on a female-led project back in April or May now. The cinematographer was a woman, the director was a woman, the producer was a woman, and it was just such a fun experience because the energy was matched, and every chance we could, we got each other's contact information on anything. We send each other information about events we're hosting all the time, and there's just a ton of networking and opportunities out there specifically for women in film. One thing that's also really inspiring is that women in film is kind of just a very loose term in the way that it's very accepting of people outside that gender binary too. A lot of my friends are trans or non-binary in this industry, and women in film spaces are still very open to those people. Even people who are transitioning to be more masculine, even though that technically would then be a man in film, quote unquote. You're still part of the community that comes up and being part of this marginalized gender, and it's just been very accepting and loving, and I've loved every person that I've met.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I feel that expansiveness in the women in my life.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
That our boundaries around how we're alike and how we're different is often more fluid.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I love that. So this idea of how women in film gives you hope because it's generous in the right? There's a real generosity. Yeah, real generosity in the space. So I want to think about you and all these. So you've encountered people who have tried to be limiting. You've encountered even more people who have been generous with you. How does that work in terms of your orientation towards risk? Do either of those kind of pieces of energy coming to you shift your orientation towards taking risks and being bold?
I think definitely, because if you're up and coming in this industry, you're going to do a lot of unpaid work, and that in itself can be very risky. And if you're doing guerrilla work, which is like films that don't get permits and that are kind of like very run and gun, that's a lot of inherent safety risks. So there's like, when I shot Paranormal, we did have permits for this, but we shot on the roof of a 3-story building. And this was not like a guarded off roof. This was a plain old roof. And it was, very much a risk. But on that safety aspect, the more respect I've received from these people, I was very confident and certain that this is something we could pull off together. And as an assistant director, you're involved quite a bit in pre-production. Everything happening before the camera rolls and all of that. And the projects where I've been willing to take the most risks on a personal safety level have been those projects where I've gotten a lot of respect from the director and the producers and everybody, and the projects where they were very open and communicative, and were as willing to give as they were willing to take. I've also worked on projects that, asked a lot from me, but were not paid. But I either loved the script a lot, or again, those people were so nice to me that it was so worth it. Like a couple weeks ago, I did a student project, and he couldn't pay. It was, and like I had to take time off work to do it, so I was really kind of losing money by doing it. But in our conversations, he was immediately so respectful to me. He told me that he was blown away by the amount of information I was able to bring from to the table, even from our first meeting, that I was like, all right, I'm going to take this project because this is a group of people that I want to get to know. And it's worth doing this because down the line, I guarantee you that he's going to give more to me than I've taken from him. And it'd be an ever-flowing exchange. And that's, I think, really worth it.
Yeah, you're really inspiring me with your just kind of, you keep coming back to this idea of generosity, right? You're generous in what you give to others. You really admire and take hope in the generosity that's come to you. So when you think about your trailblazing journey, right? What are 3 phrases or words that you would describe this journey you've been on as a generous leader, as a generous artist?
I think optimistic is one of them. I saw Superman over the summer, and it spoke to me on such a level that that's a word that I like to use for myself now. Committed. I think, being in this industry takes a lot of commitment. Even being a funny person is a commitment.
Yeah.
Commit to the bit, I think kindness goes a long way, and it ties into the generosity. I think that you have to be a very kind person, and the moments that I'm most ashamed of are the moments where I wish that I had operated with a little more empathy towards somebody else. And so, yeah, kindness, commitment, kindness, and optimism.
All right, there you go, folks. Dig deep. Find your commitment, your optimism, your kindness. I think that's really powerful. Kelsey, I see all of those in you as well, right? I've encountered your commitment, your optimism, your kindness. And, it's making me think now, Mac, and, all 3 of you about your pointer experiences. So not putting this on you or making you have really positive pointer experiences. But, you're from the sister group, the Pointers Trio.
Yeah.
What do you all say about what was important about being at Point?
One of the things that was really great about being at Point was the community that everywhere seems to have. It's a college town at the end of the day, but I think that there's a lot of ways in which everybody has embraced working with everybody, and that's how it is in film, right? Like, I might not necessarily be super into like doing grip work. I can't really do grip work, but the important thing is that like we embrace each other, me and the grips. I need them to like the scene. They need me to keep them on time and give them their lunch and do all these other things. And being at Point was really, truly like a community experience at the end of the day. It was not one that I feel like I can point to and say, I did that by myself. I did it with the support of my professors and my classmates, and the members of the community, all the places I interned when I was there, and people I made videos for, the one community theater production I did. Those are all like things I did with other people. Nothing I talked about today is something I did alone.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially like being in the community. I feel like I never did anything alone, and if I did, I feel like I would always give credit to everybody else, even if they like didn't do something with me. I feel like everybody deserves it because we're just all so close to each other, no matter who it is. Everybody's so nice here in Point. I feel like everybody deserves just a little bit of credit here in Point as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I have been very inspired during this conversation, and for some reason, I feel a little emotional about it. You are articulate, intelligent, and creative in ways that I have never really experienced in a personal conversation. So I just want to thank you for spending this time together.
Yeah.
I'm going to be thinking about your words a lot. Words like, and things that I made up while I was learning from you, like this notion of being purposeful and flexible, and how flexibility and effort can make it seem like I'm acting on purpose, right? Like, and then the intersections that you bring together, role-playing, storytelling, video, writing. I'm wondering for myself, like, where am I not honoring all of my intersections? What parts of me am I leaving out? What curiosities am I leaving out? So as we wrap up, knowing that we are just sitting here thinking the world of you, what would you want to say to all the people listening to this podcast and thinking about trailblazing?
You should just like be corny once in a while. It's gonna seem like really cheesy and corny, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, no, it's too cringe. I can't go do that stupid thing. I can't make this bad movie. I can't start drawing. I've never drawn before in my life. No, make something bad. Make something really bad, and then show it to me, and I'll be like, oh my god, that's really good, because I think anything worth putting time into is good, because that's a whole tangent. But like, I just think that you should do things that are corny and silly, and don't be afraid of doing that. I'm about to go pitch a project, and I'm pitching a Western, and I brought a cowboy hat. Do you know how goofy that is? Do you know how little I care about how goofy that is? Yeah. I actually do care quite a bit. I asked three people if it was too much, but I don't care. Yeah. Now I'm committed to it. Yeah. Commit to the bit, make something terrible, and then you'll make something good later.
Right.
Yes, I agree. That makes me laugh a lot.
Yeah. All right. So which would you prefer for titling your podcast? Is it Be Corny or Commit to the Bit?
Commit to the bit.
Yeah, commit to the bit. Yeah, that is it. Oh, I love this. Yeah, I don't know why I'm so emotional. You must be inspiring me in a way that I don't even understand right now. So thank you.
You're going to go try stand-up after this.
What are you going to try?
You're going to go try stand-up after this.
I think
oh my goodness. You should. You definitely have the personality to do it. I agree. Yeah. You should go do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I've had a great time.
Hi, folks. I'm sure you've noticed we've got a new voice on the podcast. I want you to help me welcome Kelsey Saldivar. I can kind of hear you giving a round of applause out there. She is an MBA student and a fellow. She'll be working all year on a fellowship with this podcast. So welcome, Kelsey.
Yay.
Yay. So glad you're here. Tell us a little bit about your undergrad background, some of the work you've done. Just give us a little bit of overview of your backstory.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Kelsey. I graduated with my undergrad in, believe it or not, political science and psychology. And I actually work in the marketing world right now. So absolutely nothing to do with my degree, but I absolutely love it. I just accidentally fell into it, and it just made everything so much better in my life. I graduated from UWSP. I was super involved around campus. I was a campus ambassador. I worked in marketing for UWSP Dining. I worked with UCM, University Communication Marketing. I was just everywhere.
Yeah, from everywhere to now being an MBA student.
Yeah.
Why did you choose the MBA?
I chose the MBA just because I really wanted to challenge myself, and I saw a lot of my friends doing it, and I was like, why not? Why not give it a shot? I do not come from a business background at all, so it was just kind of like a challenge to myself, because I felt like if everybody else could do it, why not could I do it?
Why not me? You're going to see that same kind of energy from Kelsey all year long. So, Kelsey, I'll say why you. Why did we select you? So Serena Vincent and I went through an interview process, and I just want to remind you why we selected you. It was because of your energy. You have so much positive, empathetic energy, and I can't wait for our listeners to get to hear that in your voice, get to hear that in the questions that you put together. So from a content perspective, Kelsey serves as the operational backbone of the work we do together. She meets the guests, she does the research on the guests, prepares the questions, puts together the bio. And so she's got this empathy, this really warm spirit, but also this operational sense of excellence. So we picked you because you are deeply compelling. And I know we're going to be hearing from our audience this year telling us how they experienced that. So thanks, everybody. We're going to have a great year together. Maya Angelou once said, "We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated." Let's carry that same kind of resilience with us into everything we do.
Thank you for joining us on our 6th series where we focused on seeing through her lens at UWSP. We hope these stories inspire you to step up, speak out, and make a difference in your own communities. Be sure to stay tuned for our next series where we will continue to amplify the voices of those creating meaningful impact.
Until then, trust your lens and keep pushing forward, advocating, and driving change.